Challenges are normal in education even before the time of COVID-19. However, in this time of pandemic, several challenges arise in the field of education, where most of its involved persons are still adjusting, and some are still having difficulty to cope with the new mode of instruction. Students, teachers, parents, schools, and educational institutions are greatly challenged by this new mode of instruction in order to continue the education of their children and students.
One of the basic problems seen by COSRICAR is the conduct of classes despite the closure order of the schools. This is the very first challenge educators faced as to how would they conduct classes despite the suspension of face-to-face classes. It would mean that the final resort to continue education of the students would be distance learning, where they will study in their respective homes. This calls for an adapt quickly response to the new normal in teaching and learning amidst the pandemic.
This sudden shift to distance learning has brought several challenges to teachers and students, as well as to the parents of the students who are the ones who guide their children in learning at home.
In the new normal, the teachers must be available at all times even though they are working at home. Although a bit burden for the teachers, they need to be available online or not at all times in case of queries from the students and parents.
This can be a challenge in the sense that it demands more time from teachers to respond from their students' queries even during their break time and during weekends.
As Tarek emphasized, that since distance learning entails high level of interaction between the teacher and students, the teacher must treat learning problems that students might encounter, taking into account the individual needs of the students in terms of their learning styles. There are some students who are not used of learning at home due to unwanted noises, with independent learning, lack of motivation. Other students don't have the technology and internet connection to use if their teacher would resort to online teaching. In this way, the teacher will have difficulty in the preparation of the lesson, and a burden as well if he or she will use two modes of distance learning delivery for a particular subject.
On the other hand, Bauer, Delgado, and Kennedy found that the main challenge in blended learning were communication and split attention. This can be a challenge to students and teachers who are located on a dead spot area where there is no signal coverage in their place. In our case, we adopted the modular distance learning since it is the most fit learning modality for our students. The most challenging part in this mode of instruction is the cooperation of students in the distribution and retrieval of the modules, worksheets, and quizzes. Students tend to get lazy to come to school just to get their learning materials. In this way, teachers are challenged on how to make sure that their students are learning. And they are also having difficulty on how to assess these kind of students.
Another challenge is that some teachers had difficulty in using technology, most especially those teachers who are not familiar with the online and offline platforms to deliver instruction. In addition, the use of computers in delivering instruction can cause eye strain and back pain to teachers and students for sitting all day and facing their computers. According to Corovilla, the role of parents in the distance learning is important. Since students are homeschooled, they have to monitor the development and performance of their child on their day-to-day activities during the learning hours. This would mean that parents must pay attention to their child's progress in learning. It will surely be an additional responsibility for them, since they will be the one to monitor their children at home to make sure that their children are studying.
The impact of the new normal of teaching was disclosed through challenges in resources such as very slow or unstable or unreliable internet connection, noisy environment, lacks of privacy during learning hours, lack of licensed or registered learning management systems, lack of computers, and lack of internet connection for some teachers.
The educators are physically ready in the new normal of teaching, but they are not emotionally ready. Hence, they preferred teaching in a classroom setting rather than in virtual class or modular class. Impacts on the educators' adjustments were in terms of their teaching learning environment, students, curriculum, teaching strategies, and use of technology.
Education must continue even this time of pandemic. Educators and experts can find ways in order to continue educating the young generation. Problems and difficulties may arise, but it cannot be a reason to stop learning. Instead, it is a challenge and a stepping stone to perform better and deliver a more effective, more efficient mode of instruction for a quality education.